Tom, could you please have Stacy send the Zoom info to Mayor Pierce?
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, it's coming. It's incoming. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, no.
I found the city, Commissioner Colthorpe. They'll be here in just a couple seconds.
They thought this was breakfast at Rembrandt's. Is that the deal?
Those are good meetings. Those are good meetings. I've been doing those for like 14 years. Get all the community together. Not during COVID.
Is the food still as good under the new management?
Where? At Rembrandt?
Madam President, we are.
I haven't been to.
Madam President, we are live at this time.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Very good.
I am
all good food.
Trying to get the best way to get a link to him from where I am. Don't have my normal stuff, so I am having a hard time getting him the information. Yes. That's going to be the easiest for me.
And Madam President, with all tremendous events, with all tremendous planning, with all tremendous efforts, and according, we are having a slight technical difficulty. We should have it solved shortly. So I ask for your patience. Should be very, very shortly. You'll be on board.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And as always, I blame the Chief of Staff.
I have broad shoulders. I can take it.
There you go.
The Jeopardy theme.
Commissioner Hansen was in the waiting room too, so. Commissioner Hansen.
What's that?
Oh, you're here. Okay, good. I was like, did I miss him? Here comes City of Eagle.
Stacy, is Eagle in?
We have one council member on.
Okay, great.
Here's Eagle City Council. There we go. So, you can see we have two council members and the mayor at the City of Eagle.
Commissioner May, you are muted.
Okay, are we about ready to go?
City of Eagle is still trying to connect into the audio. They're getting the phone connected. So, Eagle City Council, you are muted. So in the Zoom, if you want to unmute yourself. There we go.
There you go. All right.
All right.
We're
Okay,
all
we're
here now. We start our
Okay.
meeting.
Oh,
All right,
fantastic.
we're ready to go. Welcome everyone to the December 18th joint meeting with ACHD in the City of Eagle. I will now call the ACHD portion to order. Ms. Spencer, you have done a roll call. Do we have a quorum?
We do. Commissioner Arnold?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson?
Here.
Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Here.
Commissioner May?
Here.
Commissioner Baker? Commissioner Baker is absent.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Spencer. Mayor Pierce, have you already called the council to order?
Yes, we have called roll. We just want to acknowledge that Councilman Bond is present. Also, Councilman Bond, are you? I'm present. All right, excellent.
All right, welcome everyone. We will go ahead and kick off the meeting today. We will start with Director Wong. And welcome everyone. It's great to see you all.
Well, Madam President, Commissioners, Council members, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. What we'd like to do to kick off this meeting is give you a very brief overview of the Ada County Highway District. I know we have some new council members there, and we thought this would be beneficial. So, Stacy, if you could bring up the slide, please. Okay, well, again, thank you for giving us the opportunity, Mr. Mayor and council members, to speak to you today. Again, as I said earlier, we made a presentation to the Ada County legislators earlier this week, and part of that presentation was just a quick review of who we are, what we do, and some of the resources that we have to support you and your citizens of the City of Eagle. So that being said, let's go ahead and start. Next slide, please. First off, again, this, as we refer to as ACHD 101, I'm sure some of you have the history here, but again, we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary in this spring for the Ada County Highway District. As you all know, we are governed by 5 elected officials, and they do have very broad authorities across the board. We are responsible in supporting you and your taxpayers with a very large amount of assets, as you can see across the board. We are a large organization, and we support, that's right, 502,000 citizens, of course, including Eagle. Now, what's interesting about this is just a year ago, that number was 490,000. So you can see the tremendous growth that continues to come into Ada County. We do have a rather large economic impact into the county. Again, our commissioners do a tremendous job of ensuring that we place all the dollars that the taxpayers have loaned us in the right areas at the right time. Ada County Highway District responsibilities are quite large. As you can see by the numbers there, 5,187 miles of infrastructure. That is truly a challenge across the board for our team to ensure expeditious compliance across all avenues. And as you probably know, we do operate and own, I'll call it, a lot of stuff when it comes down to resources, infrastructure, buildings, headquarters, industrial sites, And something that we're very proud of course, is our commuter ride operation, which today has 77 routes in service, serving a lot of people, a lot of businesses, and they're doing incredibly well. Next slide, please. Well, as I said, how big are we? Well, just as a graphic right now, you could take a trip to New York and back, and then probably go up to McCall, and maybe over to Payot, and then maybe do a little bit more Christmas shopping, and you'd still have a couple miles left over from the infrastructure that we are responsible for to you and all of Ada County on an annual basis. As you can see, the maintenance costs, the total maintenance costs across the board are large, but at the end of the day, that maintains the best infrastructure for Idaho roads, as recently rated by our outside consultants, and it provides the taxpayers great access for all users. Next slide, please. Our priorities are very simple, and there are just 4 of them. Of course, people. Across the board, we like to refer consistently that people are profit centers, not cost centers. And we focus our operation to ensure we are always putting our people first when it comes down to operations. We do everything possible to be effective and efficient in our execution. I'm proud to let you know that with the most recent road report that we have sent to the state, our overhead, administrative overhead, remains at 6.6%. Our commissioners invest heavily in what we call the tooth of an operation, and it's played out again when the numbers are publicized. We try and do a lot of different things here. We are not averse to different pilot projects, new designs, new technologies, to include hands-free signalization, crosswalk activation, which we're working on. We're looking at a new technology that will allow us to predict where congested possible traffic collision areas will be without having to wait for the collision to occur. More on that next year as we get into this and looking out for different processes to make all of the infrastructure safer. And of course, safety across the district. Our operation here, our focus is to send everybody home in the same or better condition when they showed up in the morning, and to ensure all users have a safe avenue, especially with some of the new designs that we are working through with our commission going forward. Next slide, please. What we do, well, the commission has a very challenging role when it comes down to being regional decision makers versus specific decision makers. That's the hat they get to wear on a daily basis, and at the end of the day, they do a tremendous job on ensuring that the dollars that we spend and the projects that we move forward have regional impacts to, again, provide safe operations for all users. And one of the things that's really consistent across the board, Mr. Mayor and council members, is that we have an amazing public outreach program. And it's kind of interesting. I'll just tee up our budget process as one. Yes, we just completed our budget and we're started again on the next one, but we will have 30 to 40 touch points with our budget committee, our commissioners, and 2 public hearings just to ask the public at certain parts of our budget process is whether or not we've missed something, if there's something there that they believe is important, and we'll bring that back to the commissioners when it's all said and done. But at the end of the day, I'm very confident in saying that the Ada County Highway District are honest brokers when it comes down to determining where dollars go in support of Eagle and their requirements, and of course the other 5 cities in all of Ada County. Next slide. So this is how we do it. It's been a process that we've developed over the years, but it goes from our strategic plan, which the commission has approved. It's a 20-plus year reach, looking out in the future what we think is going to happen with different inputs from different areas. The primary and secondary focuses are up in blue. That rolls into our capital improvement plan, which your staff participates in, as does our citizens advisory committees, and that's a 20-year look as to what the needs are for improvements across all of the infrastructure, which rolls into something a little bit more specific, and that's the integrated 5-year work plan. That is the mechanism that is tied to our budget. We've linked the two, that determines the when, the where, and the how much of projects across all Idaho County. This is a year-long process, and as you, Mr. Mayor, as you know, I recently sent out the letters to start the next process for the next go at this, which will culminate in September of 2021 when the commission approves the final iteration of this. But you have, your staffs are intimately involved, as are neighborhood associations, schools, Ada County, citizens across the board. This is a very, very open process. We take a long time and have lots of interactive sessions to determine what that final plan will be when we bring it to the commission. And of course, Mr. Mayor and the council members, you have a big play in this as to what Eagle's considerations will be for the commission. And then again, you'll see a common theme here, and we do this both by virtual and in person, a tremendous amount of outreach and engagement to get to the point in September where we stand in front of our commission and say, this is the recommendation, and we stand by their final determination on this. Next slide, please. The commission has given us 7 criteria, and these are at the 100,000 foot area. Trust me, we look at many more on these, but this is what what I like to call the commission's intent. That means if I don't speak to the president of the commission or the commission for the next year, these are the things that they have asked us to do from a macro 100,000 foot look-see, and I'm proud to say that we are meeting all of those, even with the challenges that COVID-19 pandemic has placed upon the district and of course all of Idaho and the nation. Next slide, please. We also are very focused on our bike and pedestrian operations across the board. Our neighborhood plans and pedestrian plans are front and center with the commission. We do emphasize, as you all know, safe routes to schools. It's incredibly important in all of the budgeting and planning that we do here at the Ada County Highway District. We focus also on our ADA transition plan. I believe when this was first presented as a Supreme Court decision to the country, the Ada County Highway District was one of the first in Idaho to adopt an ADA transition plan. We've recently updated it with our commission's approval. We have what we call the gold standard, a group called MIG out of California as one of our consultants, and of course we work very closely with our ADA advisory committee on ensuring that as we move forward in projects, we address these issues that are either not as good as they could be or out of compliance with each project moving forward across the board. We are taking a new look at how we do comprehensive capital maintenance. In the past, as you all aware, when we came in to, I'll call it fix a road or redo a road, that's what we did. We redid the road. Well, today, we've made this more comprehensive in that we are taking into consideration all aspects of the road on both sides, looking at safety enhancements, looking at how we can make the road structures and improve them as opposed to just putting down asphalt. I don't want to belittle what we've been doing in the past, but at the same token, this is a major shift in our focus for operations, and I think I know it's going to be a great success going forward. Now, that being said, what this means is that those capital maintenance projects, which I'll say may have taken a month or two, are going to take a little longer because they're going to be more comprehensive, and at the same time, there are going to be more dollars involved. And as we've said earlier, continued strong public engagement across all areas. Next slide. Mr. Mayor, I'm sure you're aware, but your Ada County Highway District, and it is your Ada County Highway District, we are actually international ambassadors for not only Ada County but for Idaho. We are consistently asked by the State Department to host foreign delegations so that they can visit and understand a couple things about how we operate. The first is how we operate with so many different elected officials and so many different elected areas without combat operations. They find that very, very interesting. The second part is how we operate without a lot of, I'll call it unprofessional operations that go on back and forth. And so we are on their visit list, and these are just some of the countries that have already come by. And I always like to share the fact that the country of Bhutan, when they were here, they were very impressed with all the equipment and the infrastructures that Ada County district has, because in their country they have one stoplight in the middle of the country. And they did invite, and again, we haven't seen the formal thing. I know Commissioner Goldthorpe smiles at this. But we did, he and I were invited to come to Bhutan and help them straighten out their system. If we ever get the formal invitation, I don't know if we're going to go or not. Anyway, so we do have an amazing reach outside the country. Next slide. Your ACHD also is a great, we give back to the community on an annual basis. We are able to, all by volunteer time, to generate a sizable amount of dollars that we give to charities that our team selects. I have 3 rules of engagement on this, Mr. Mayor, and that is it has to involve children, it has to involve families, it has to involve the military. And our team members select them, and then we come out and we do our thing. And we have supported not only the Children's Home Society, but the Women's and Children's Alliance, the First Sea of Idaho, Operation Warm Heart, you name it, we've probably done it. And unfortunately, as you know, this year we were not able to do our tournament. However, we did select the Waikan Warriors for this year, and we've rolled that over to 2021, and the tournament will be, that's right, on 9/11/2021. We think that's very fitting to support the Waikan Warriors and such, and we're looking for a huge opportunity to give them a very big check. And as I've challenged the team already, we've never broken that $200,000 mark. I think we're going to try very hard to do that this time. I can already sense the General Counsel starting to faint. But that being said, next slide, please. And Mr. Mayor, as you know, your city has been very supportive of the Idaho Patriot Thunder. We are also looking for a big return on that next year. And I do want to thank you and the council again for loaning us those tremendous flags that we use in exiting High Desert Harley-Davidson. It's always greatly appreciated. And those dollars go to military families, both the Guard and Mountain Home Air Force Base. So thank you. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about winter operations, and let's hope it stays in the mountains and such. Next slide, please. Mr. Mayor, council members, this is the equipment that the Ada County Highway operates to do those 5,187 miles of infrastructure. As you can see, looking at it, it does look like a lot. But when you compare that to the requirements and responsibilities that you and all of Ada County have directed the ACHD to accomplish, we work very, very hard to ensure those 141 team members and those 58 total units are where they need to be, when they need to be, and as we go through the 24/7 operations when it comes down to snow ops. Next slide, please. This is what we have on store right now. As you can see, we are well supplied. The Commission has invested in assuring that we have the infrastructure that not only provides us the materials requirements, but also the EPA and DEQ protection resources to make sure that we are great stewards when it comes down to environmental operations on this. Next slide, please. Always a contested issue, but Mr. Mayor, these are the priorities that we will address snow operations based on the number of people we have, the number of the amount of equipment and materials and supplies we have, and of course the miles of road structure that we have to work through. Now, I will say this. We learned a couple things from Snowmageddon. and we did improve and increase our priorities for school bus routes, priority school routes. We work with the school districts. We do not pick those priority routes. We work with them, they let us know where they are, and when we are able to get to the priority 2, what this does, it not only provides safe passage for our children, but at the same time, it gets us into neighborhoods, and it opens up passages into neighborhoods at times where, as with Snowmageddon, there was a tremendous amount of issues when we having people stuck and such. And of course, the last one, sorry, those are the residential streets with 4,000 some odd cul-de-sacs. Most times, it's the Mother Nature, the sun, that gets to that. Next slide, please. So, briefly, Mr. Mayor and council members, that's just a quick review of who we are, what we do, and some of the resources that we have.
Thank you very much for that. Does the council have any questions or anything? No? I appreciate that overview very much.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Director Wong. The next item we had on the agenda was the Eagle Road and State Street intersection briefing, and this will be done by Ryan Cutler. Welcome, Ryan.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I will share my screen if that's okay. Let me get this up here and make sure everybody can see it before I get started.
Thank you, Ryan.
Everybody see my screen on that?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Well, again, good morning. My name is Ryan Cutler, and I'm a senior project manager here at the Highway District. Grateful for this opportunity this morning to give you a brief overview of the Eagle Road and State Street intersection and some of the improvements that are planned for the downtown area of Eagle. I suspect, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, that you're aware of some of these items. I know that there was a meeting held recently where some of these were discussed. So just want to hit some of the high points and then answer any questions that you might have after we're done doing so. So as you may be aware, the project history on this goes back quite a ways, all the way back into 2012. That's where ACHD and the City of Eagle and their Urban Renewal Agency came up with the idea of doing a concept study to see how we could improve the overall traffic flow and pedestrian flow of the downtown area of Eagle. In doing so, after we started the plan back in 2013, we held a public open house at the City Hall to get the input of the citizens and the public in the area based on some of the information we had pulled together with our consultant, who is Kittleson. In March of 2014, our commission, after all the public involvement was completed, officially adopted the intersection concept study. And at that point in time, based on information that was given at the meeting and public input, the decision at that point in time was to move forward with a roundabout at Eagle and State to widen Eagle Road, Plaza, Aikens, and I'm part of Old Park as part of this improvement plan. That was in 2014. After a little more discussion with the city and some interaction with the public, it was requested by the city in August of 2014 that the commission remove the roundabout option, and it was taken off the table. And we went back to the drawing board and started to look at some other options. In February of 2016, the City of Eagle requested that ACHD adopt or move forward with the Quadrant intersection as part of an alternative from our concept study. And that's the direction we went. And just recently, as our budget came available, we started our design contract with Kittleson for that Quadrant intersection. And that was just this beginning of this last year and is ongoing. And to explain a little more about that, here's some of the design history that has taken place to this point. Earlier this year in February, we had the project kickoff meeting. That's with all of our ACHD team members, city staff members from Eagle, and those that would be involved in the design process throughout the project life. In April of 2020, we did a 30% design check with that same project team, including the city team members, to make sure we're headed down the right path. In this last summer, we had a project walkthrough that included many members of the project team, also city staff, and Mr. Mayor, you were also involved in that walkthrough. During that walkthrough, we were looking at different pedestrian accessibility areas, landscaping, and some of the questions that the City of Eagle had, and wanted to make sure we're in this plan as we move forward with design. We had to make a little bit of adjustment to our September public involvement meetings. Obviously, with COVID, things changed, so we ended up doing all of our public involvement online. Our stakeholder meetings were also done online, just to make sure that everybody was following protocol and being safe. We did get a lot of feedback from that public involvement process, and we used that as we rolled into our 75% design, which was just turned in recently, this last beginning of this month. We had our 75% review, which was done by the project team and the city staff. And just earlier this week, we had our 75% review meeting to go over that plan. So as you can tell, we're right in the middle of everything right now, and moving forward on our scheduled timeline. Here are just a few highlights I wanted to show you. You're probably familiar with this based on the plan that you reviewed at your last meeting at the City of Eagle, but just some of the highlights of the project, proposed project as we're designing it now, that's different than what is out there on the ground now. You'll see at State Street and 2nd, there's intended to be a signal placed at that location, where there is not at this point in time. We're always considering, especially in the downtown Eagle area, parking, finding ways that we can not only efficiently move vehicles, but also make sure that we're keeping adequate parking in an area where there's not a lot of parking. Mostly that is along the State Street area. You'll note also that the signal at State and Eagle will be a east-west moving signal. There will not be any left turns as currently proposed at State Street going to the south on Eagle Road. There are improvements that will be made to Old Park Place to allow traffic to connect back into Eagle Road. There will be a little bit of widening at Eagle Road and upgrades of pedestrian facilities on the stretch of Eagle Road between State Street and Plaza Drive. And Plaza Drive will have some improvements to upgrade that from single turn lanes to dual turn lanes to handle more traffic coming off of 2nd Street to get to Eagle Road. And as you're also aware, in a separate project but going on at the same time, Aiken Street has been improved and has been designed and is anticipated to be constructed at the same time as this project is constructed. So moving forward from this point, here's what we have on our schedule. We're preparing now for our 2nd round of public involvement. Again, that will be an online process as much as possible. There may be some individual one-on-one meetings with public, those affected the most. Those will be done as safely as possible. We anticipate that we'll complete the design process on this project this upcoming March and roll right into our right-of-way acquisition for any land that might be needed to complete this project. And that will be from this upcoming spring through the fall of 2022. And then in the fall of 22, which is our fiscal year 23, it's anticipated we will start construction on our completed design project. That is the update that I have for you today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and thankful for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Mayor Pierce, any questions from you or your council members? No? Okay. Well, hearing none, then we will go ahead and go.
Oh, sorry, I had you on mute there, and Councilman Pittman had a good speech going, so he's going to have to start over. Sorry.
Councilman Pittman.
I just had a question regarding the construction of Aikens and Eagle and State and everything in the downtown corridor. you're indicating that everything's going to be done at one time. How is Dade County going to deal with the traffic impact of the residents that need to come back down into downtown when you have 3 or 4 sections being done at once?
Madam President, I can answer that question. This is Ryan again. Yeah, great question, Councilman. The answer is very carefully, I guess. We deal with these projects a lot where we get a lot of input from the public on how we should phase and do our different construction projects. But this project itself is going to have to be done very delicately, where different phases of the project are done at different times, so there's allowing traffic to be able to flow through the city at the same time. So as we do on many of our projects, we'll construct a portion of the project while another portion of the project is open, allowing for detour routes and different vehicles to still get to the places that they need to, as we always need to accommodate businesses and different places of worship and work and all the things that happen in a downtown area. We still are required to make sure that people can get to those locations. So we'll have a phase plan in our construction documents that will have a very set up timeline and location for each portion that's being constructed, so that we can have alternative routes for people to get where they need to get to.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Ryan? All right. Hearing none.
Actually, Councilman Pike is
Okay.
wanting to speak up.
Councilman
You
Pike.
can hear me very well. Okay, good morning. My quick question to Ryan is, when you're looking at the mobility part of Eagle and state traffic, are you encompassing the different new design maybe for one-way streets and angled or additional parking within those side streets, or is this just strictly going to be for that flow for focusing on Eagle and state?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, great question. Obviously, the City of Eagle has representation. Nicole does a great job of representing the City of Eagle on our project team. And trust me, she brings that up to me every time we have a meeting so that we don't forget about it. But we are evaluating all areas where we can continue to keep parking in the area. Even in the areas where we're doing one-way streets, we've been looking at either parallel or angled parking to allow vehicles to be able to get where they need to, especially in the downtown area. So yeah, as we look at not only the mobility of the traffic and the flow of people and cars, we're also looking at impacts to parking and how we can make improvements to those things in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Hearing none. We will move on to a presentation from Mr. Gary Inselman on ACHD traffic impact fees. Mr. Inselman. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President and Mr. Mayor. I'm Gary Inselman, Deputy Director of Development Technical Services at ACHD. I'll give you a brief information briefing on our impact fee program. ACHD, along with all the other taxing districts in the state of Idaho, are granted the authority to charge impact fees under the Idaho statute. All new buildings in Ada County are assessed an impact fee, and we assess that prior to issuance of the building permit. It is assessed based on the land use and the gross area of the building or the number of development units that are being proposed. And any change of use of existing buildings are assessed an impact fee as well if the new use will generate more traffic. The statute does prohibit the use of impact fees for any other purpose other than system improvements to serve that new growth. And for ACHD, we can only spend impact fee funds on the roadway and intersection projects listed in our 20-year capital improvements plan. We do update that plan every 4 years. The statute requires it be done every 5 years. We've chosen 4 years so that we mirror the update to the Compass Long Range Transportation Plan, which is the basis for our projections. And we do have an inflation index built into our program to make sure we don't get our fees too out of whack in between updates. The Idaho Development Impact Fee Act is very specific on what has to go into a capital improvements plan. And we do work with our Impact Fee Advisory Committee, our Capital Investment Citizens Advisory Committee, and the update of that plan every 4 years. How projects are determined to be included in the CIP, it does come from that projected growth, which begins with comprehensive plans from all 6 cities in Ada County. And that is expressed in the Communities in Motion 2040 2.0, which is the current long-range transportation plan. And we take the information out of that plan into the regional travel demand model and look at the projected demand over the next 20 years. This is an illustration of the anticipated population growth by 2040. And you can see the percent increases out of the long-range transportation plan from Compass. Population projected to increase 53% by 2040, households 61%, employment 86%, all resulting in an increase in vehicle miles traveled on the ACHD system of 70% by 2040. So this is the current 2020 ACHD capital improvements plan. We just adopted this last August. Our projected funding over the next 20 years, we have nearly $600 million available for capital improvement projects. Out of the plan, 244 total projects, $1.1 billion in project costs, $627 million of which is impact fee eligible, and $330 million to come out of that, the general fund dollars from that revenue projection in the previous slide. These are our existing deficiencies on the system in 2020. So these roadways, when they are widened, are not impact fee eligible. We'll have to widen those with general fund dollars. And this is the projected system demand and congestion. You can see even at build out of the 2020 capital improvements plan, there will be additional lane miles of congestion. And that's shown on this map. We have several roadway segments that are constrained, where our commission, working with the cities, including the city of Eagle, have agreed that certain corridors won't be widened beyond the lane configuration listed in our master street map. So in Eagle, for example, we have the stretch of Beacon Light Road and Floating Feather Road showing to be over capacity in that 2040 build out scenario. And again, our map of approved projects in the CIP, and I would stand for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Inselman. Mayor Pierce, any questions from you or your council members?
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yep, Councilman Pittman.
Thank you. Hey, Gary, real quick question on the collection of the impact fees. When you collect those impact fees throughout the 6 cities, how is it determined which city or project faces a priority? And the reason I ask that is because per capita, I believe Eagle is one of the fastest growing communities in Ada County. And so do the dollars reflect that for what's collected in our Eagle area? Do we keep those dollars, or do we get more priority as the resident number just keeps growing every year?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, our impact fee dollars are spent on a first in, first out basis based on our integrated 5-year work plan and our budget. So to see what will be spent in the city of Eagle in the future, we'd look at the integrated 5-year work plan. We're currently designing the Linder Road segment from State to Floating Feather, the Linder Road Floating Feather intersection. Those will utilize impact fee dollars when they are constructed, and they're utilizing those dollars now through the design process and also when we acquire the right-of-way. But we don't set the money aside and wait for a project in a given area. It's spent essentially in the year that it's collected overall.
Okay. This is Mayor Pierce. So I had a couple things. With the impact fees and what you guys are getting, are you getting? Do you feel what you need as you go through? Are there ways that the city could help you in getting more dollars? I know and I might be wrong, but my understanding is Meridian has been using some like their general funds to do some improvements and working with you guys. If that's something that Eagle does, or if Eagle finds another way, does that help at all with getting projects done?
Mr. Mayor, this is Bruce Wong. First off, the city of Meridian has not, they've made some recommendations that they'd like the commission to consider and such, but we have not, we are not partnering or accepting loans or whatever at this point in time and such, but that's a commission decision to make. And so one of the things that we are going to be working through the legislature this year is to expand impact fee eligibility projects. For right now, as you know, the restrictions that we have are basically for congestion, intersections, that sort of stuff. And with the growing bicycle population and pedestrian population, we are going to be asking the legislature to open that window, which will help us spend more impact fee dollars into creating sidewalks, bicycle lanes, those sort of things, which right now comes out of our general fund. So short answer to your question, no, we are not, the commission is not yet partnered with a city to use their general revenue funds for projects. But yes, we are working this legislative session to see if we can have the legislatures open up that window, which allows us to spend impact fees in maybe a little different area. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so basically what I'm looking for too is I want to try to find ways that we as the city can help you guys. As I've said a lot in the past, I really believe in the ACHD model. If you just split it up within the 6 cities, the almost 7% you spend in admin, that would be multiplied by 6, right? With the same amount of money that each city would have. So what I like is that administrative is very low that you guys are using and able to really encompass the dollars to be used for projects, maintenance, and everything else. Really appreciate it. But I'm trying to figure, I would really like to think of ways outside the box of where cities can maybe have the ability to differentiate themselves a little bit with what they do in their own cities. You know, right now we do use general funds to, you know, maybe make sidewalk improvements above what you guys would do, or ask for, you know, better street trees or different ways to do street trees. And maybe work with you guys and the legislators moving forward is how we could also do something on the new construction. And when I say new construction, I don't just mean the new people that move here. I mean, there's people that have lived here for 30 years that still buy new homes, but then it opens up theirs for other folks, is to be able to, you know, take advantage of that to make sure that whenever somebody can be put new into the community, that we can have the capacity to be able to handle those folks as they move around our cities. And so I just, in the future, like I said, I'd like to try to find a way where we can really work hard on how maybe we can help you as cities do what you guys want to do, and then also us to have a little more flexibility in what we as individual cities want to do.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Golden.
Mr. Mayor, I was also going to just mention urban renewal as a tool to help with that as well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Pike had a question.
All right. Again, good morning. My question is, do you guys have a dollar amount for rooftop that you are charging each resident and square footage of commercial buildings that we can know about, or how's that calculated out for your income from the city of Eagle on your impact fees?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, we have a fee schedule in the impact fee ordinance that lists out common land use types, and there's a different fee structure for the different uses depending on the amount of traffic that they generate. So we can send that over to you or provide you the link to our website so you can review that.
Yeah, I appreciate that because, yeah, sitting on this fire commission as well, we do have a dollar value per rooftop so the community knows exactly how much is coming in as an impact for new construction. So those numbers would be interesting for me. Thank you.
We'll get those sent over. Thank you, Councilman Pike. Any other questions? All right, Mr. Enselman, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now next, we have the City of Eagle, and you will be speaking to bicycle and pedestrian connectivity.
Yeah, so basically just wanted to kind of, I think basically just wanted to do is open up the conversation a little bit about, where you guys are going with that. It sounds like with how you're going with the legislature to use those impact fees for those types of things. But as you know, Floating Feather and Beacon Light for years have been a really big thing for bicycles along with downtown. We have a lot of spots where sidewalks are missing, and we know that comes with construction, but what can we do maybe to just have a little bit more of that? Eagle's becoming a little bit more urban than it has in the past, and people are doing and using, the roadways for pedestrian and bicycle connectivity and transportation more and more. And we just want to make sure that we're looking at that, and I know you guys have on your plans different things moving forward. But I just wanted to open up if any of the council members or wanted to talk about that at all. No?
So I think it's vital.
No.
What's that?
I agree with you. I think it's vital to look into that and see what the feasibility is for, back to your comment about partnerships and where those dollars can be acquired. So is that something that we have to look within internally? And I think your question, if I heard you right, you want to know we're partnering with ACHD on those two subjects, correct?
Yeah. In the 5-year work plan, you guys have started to implement that pretty well too with the bicycle and pedestrian stuff moving forward. So any other comments from the council?
Mr. Mayor, so I would agree that it's very important that, a partnership between ACHD and the City of Eagle benefit the community for pedestrian transportation and usage. I guess one of the questions I would have is, because we know in the future, for future build-out, Beacon Light Road and Floating Feather Road are going to be, graded under what it should be graded for usage. I guess I'm just concerned that if we don't start getting something put away for those roads, eventually we're just kicking the can down the road. So I guess, when we look at Floating Feather, how it just ends with, it has some bike lanes, and then it ends between, I think it's Eagle Road and Valentine, or through Park, through Linder, all the way down that way. I see more and more construction out there, and I think it's vital that, we prioritize these types of issues and concerns for the city and get them done and on a calendar as soon as possible.
So, in Commissioner May, or Chairman May, the Beacon Light, I believe it's restricted because of what the city has asked for. Beacon Light. So where Beacon Light will only be 3 lanes at one section and then wider more towards the west. I think that's what they're talking about. And then Floating Feather, people not wanting it to be wider than 3 lanes. So I think it's more the city has asked for those restrictions. It's not, there's not the money there to do it. If I'm not mistaken, is that, Jeremy May, is that?
Yes. Those constraints have been city-driven.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, I don't have a problem with, floating feather remaining 3 lanes and so on and so forth. It's just that where the areas are right now that are the 2 lanes where there is no bike paths and center turn lanes and things like that. Those are the important areas currently. I live on that west side, and you really have to watch yourself on pedestrians and bikes because that's their trail. That's where they travel. So I think ACHD and the partnership with the Eagle has been a wonderful partnership for as long as I've been on the council. I just think that the more that we can discuss these items and talk about the priorities, because priorities change. And we want to make sure that we stay on top of what priority needs to be managed and taken care of first and foremost to provide the connection and connectivity through the city for our residents. So.
Absolutely. We're interested in continuing that dialogue as well, Councilman Pittman, and we look to the city to provide a list of priorities to us. I know you're familiar with our GAP project that we started a couple years ago, and we work off the priorities that we receive from the city. And Director Wong, would you like to speak to that? I saw you walk up to the podium.
I was just exercising. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Just give a little update.
Just to follow up on Commissioner May's comments, Mr. Mayor, council members, the criticality of how you prioritize for your city within the integrated 5-year work plan construct is very important. That is a tool that that we here will use in concert with your staff as we present this to the commissioners, and it's a back and forth discussion that you and they will have. But if those are your key issues and priorities for the city, then I ask you to please make those the first and second and third priority in the integrated 5-year work plan. And again, we'll work with your staff, and of course, I'm sure the commission will work with all of you as we go down that path to come to a final output in September for that. But again, that integrated 5-year work plan, as Commissioner may say, the GAP projects that we are now working through, the commission has put a huge emphasis on that, and we are executing those as they come forward.
And we do look to the city to provide that input for us. You mentioned the gaps in the sidewalks, et cetera. So get those into us. I'm sorry, somebody had a question? Was it a commissioner?
Yes.
Oh, Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Ask Mr. Wong, when we prioritize as a city, we have 5 other cities surrounding in Ada County that also prioritize theirs. How are the priorities picked throughout the communities when everybody has a list of something? We pick our top priorities, they pick theirs. Who determines and how does it get determined whose priority is the main priority as opposed to just our?
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm going to allow our brand new Deputy Director of Plans and Projects, Justin Lucas, to come forth and clear the air on that.
Thank you very much, Director Wong. Good morning, council members, commissioners. It's really an excellent question, and thank you for asking how we prioritize. There's a lot of variables that go into that, to this process. So we have our integrated 5-year work plan. Within that document, there is a prioritization system that takes into account the city's request. There's points associated with that. You get a higher score for, let's say, your number 1 request versus your number 17 request. We also do a technical analysis based on benefits to the system of the project, and that's something the commission directed us to do years ago to avoid just choosing projects based on one specific city's priority, but also to make sure that the projects have a benefit to the system, to the traveling public, and we do that, and that's also included. And all of that information on an annual basis is presented to the commission, and the commission ultimately, through the integrated 5-year work plan, designates the projects that will move forward. Those projects typically, they start out, as an idea, 4 or 5 years away, and then they kind of march through the process of becoming an actual construction project. Much like what you saw with the Eagle and State intersection. We started that discussion years and years ago. It came into the integrated 5-year work plan, and then it is now being designed and headed towards construction. So all of those variables play into that, and the commission ultimately makes the decision on what projects will go forward. Thank you.
Justin, isn't it also a part of the prioritization process when it comes down to safety concerns?
Correct, sir. When I said technical variables, I should have clarified that safety is, when we look at the technical variables, those are the types of things we're looking at, safety being the primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Commissioner Arnold, did I hear you?
No, I think it was
did you have a comment?
Thorpe that wanted to make a
It
comment.
was Commissioner Goldthorpe? All right, Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Yeah, and my comment has to do with both the connectivity issue as well as safety, and that is that we are moving towards, and this isn't perfectly stated, more of a default position, especially in the county when we have development coming in, as well as within the city limits, to go to a format of multiple use pathways that are 10 feet wide, so that the ultimate goal with that is to make it safer for kids and bicyclists, so that ultimately moms won't have to be driving their kids to school, and they can walk or ride their bikes in complete safety, and lower the traffic in the morning and in the afternoon as well. But that will make it quite a bit less likely that arterials like Floating Feather and Beacon Light will become overcrowded quite as fast as it would without that. And we're asking the legislature for a little help in that regard this year as well, so that we can make that happen more often, and it'll make the GAP projects a lot easier to do. And as Director Wong said, when we go in to do some maintenance, if we can see not only the need but the opportunity to do more of a complete build out on the road when we go in to do something, for example, using the multi-use pathway concept, we will. And I believe that'll get us to an atmosphere where we have less congestion and more safety quicker than otherwise. Thank you.
It's more economical to do that up front as well, and less disruption for the neighborhoods too. So that's another benefit from that.
Chairman May, I think Councilmember Gold wanted to say something also.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to make the comment that for Beacon Light Road, as far as not widening that road, as I understand it was also the interest was to maintain the rural feel of that road. So that's a big reason that sidewalks haven't been installed over there. So I just think that it would be really important to include all of the residents on that, in that area, in any discussion around a prospective change to that plan.
Okay. Mr. Mayor? Yeah. Councilmember Pittman again. I just had a quick question regarding ADHD and ITD. Do you currently or do you have joint meetings, whether it's quarterly or semi-annually or annually, with dialogue because your roads touch their roads, and in certain specific areas, I'll use Beacon Light as a great example, the Highway 55 issue that we have and our Beacon Light corner there. Do you guys talk at all regarding what their plans are and what they're prioritizing, as opposed to what ACH and the cities in Ada County prioritize?
Director Wong, do you want to speak to that? Our staff and Director Wong, they are talking all the time, so everybody is appraised of what's going on and who's doing what. Director Wong, if you'd like to add a little bit more.
Yes, Madam President, Mr. Mayor, Council Member, yes, our staffs do coordinate most recently, of course, on the Chinden project, and some of the other areas that ITD is expanding across the board. As a matter of fact, we even have discussions on some of the interstate projects as it affects the local grid system that they're working through. But as to do we have joint meetings with the board of ITD, at this point, no. That's something the commission may want to explore and such. But as for the staff areas, yes, we have a pretty good dialogue going, and we have a pretty good relationship with the leadership, not only at the headquarters, but as important in District 3.
Okay,
Thank you, Director Wong. Any other questions or comments?
I think we're good. Appreciate it.
I've got a question.
I'm sorry, who was that?
That was Councilman Bond. I've been trying to jump in here for about a half hour.
Well, and you were the first one there.
Yeah, sorry, it's tough to be out here. So two questions, actually. First one, relative to these non-motorized transportation corridors. So historically, as we put these together, they've kind of been a mix match. Are we standardizing those corridors a little bit more to basically, I know Commissioner Goldthorpe mentioned this a little bit about a 10-foot corridor. Historically, the corridors that we have right now, especially on Floating Feather, is a good example of a good start, but the bike lanes are insufficient. One of the big ones is if we're going to make these a legitimate non-motorized transportation corridor, those bike lanes need to be wider. More people would use them. Right now, they're too small. And standardizing that so that we know that all new corridors will have that as a right-of-way in the future for acquisition of right-of-way at a minimum. So those the bikes are separated from a sidewalk, and making that kind of a standardized process. Do you guys have that in the works now, or is that where you guys are starting to do it just from a planning perspective?
Mr. Mayor, council member, it's a great question, and there are a lot of facets to that question. Number one, as I think I shared earlier, the commission is approaching the legislature this session to standardize the width of multi-use paths. That is something that we have tried before. We have been unsuccessful. We think that this year, though, we have a pretty good shot at making this work. At least the legislators that we did make that presentation to earlier this week, they all had their heads nodding up and down, so that is a good sign. We'll see how that goes, but that is one of the commission's priorities with the legislative session. Number two, as to bicycle operations, as Commissioner Goldthorpe alluded to, we are pursuing a different path forward. In the past, when the Ada County Highway District would look at a road structure, a major road structure, busy road structure, all roads don't fit into this, of course. The fallback position was paint on the road and sharrows. As we all know, the number of vehicles and congestion continues to increase. It's not going to go away. And such. So what we have already, the commission has already approved on one of our major projects was a concept of a detached multi-use path where we separate both bikes and peds, but they're on their own part of the structure. They're not on the road. And there's a distinction between where the motor vehicle surface ends and the bicycle and pedestrian facilities begins by a raised section. We are looking at now in our projects as we go forward, and as Commissioner Goldthorpe said, it is approaching the default position on how we approach this new concept for ensuring safe operations. Is that standardized across all areas? No, it is not. Different cities have different perspectives on what they believe is important for their vision. But I will assure you that your staff and our staff, we work through this, and I'm pretty confident that the commission has a pretty good feel of what each city is looking towards. So in a roundabout way, I hope I'm answering your questions. It is a project that's in progress, but the progress is very good.
So actually, Director Wong, that's a good segue, not segue, but the follow-up on that one is, I guess one of the issues we are running into with these non-motorized transportation corridors is basically putting these, as you call it, multi-use trails. That is becoming actually an issue, is we're trying to put the bikes with the people. When you guys are talking about these corridors, is this almost a green belt where we put pedestrians and bikes together? Because I think we're going to have more of an issue with that one, as opposed to when we talk about the painted line, while I think bikes actually work better with cars as long as there's sufficient room. Right now, the painted line, the problem with the painted line is it's only a 3-foot wide painted line. If that were to expand to almost a half, where you're talking 8 to 10 foot wide area for bikes do better with cars, believe it or not, as long as there's sufficient width in there. When you start mixing, if we're looking like Hill Road is kind of a good one, where we have almost a pedestrian lane, then we have a bike lane, and then we have an auto lane. The problem is the physical barrier. Then you run into the issue with making sure that the bike lane is clean versus the pedestrian. There's no way for HEHD to clean that pathway, so it gets built up on it. Is there any way to do just a wider bike lane with the pedestrian lane being more of the standard sidewalk?
Well, sir, let me answer it this way in several facets, and I'm not being facetious by any stretch of the imagination. Anything is possible with dollars. And at the end of the day, that resource is finite. I will say this, though, that we are fully engaged with the Ada County Highway District Bicycle Advisory Committee. We do run a lot of these concepts by them. At the same token, the commission has difficult decisions to make, and that is based on the best use of the entire infrastructure, the cost to the taxpayer, the return on investment, the utilization of that system. Because we just had a presentation a little bit ago that, according to the experts here right now in Idaho, and I'm going to say most likely in the county, bicycle use is about 1.7% of all the utilization that's going on in the infrastructure right now. Does that mean that we should step back? No, it does not. As a matter of fact, I think the commission is being very forward-looking in how they are directing staff to look at new policies, procedures, incorporating, as Commissioner Goldthorpe had laid out, a new concept and such. But your term non-motorized corridor, I hadn't really heard that one before. But at the same token, I think that you'll find that the district is fully engaged in ensuring that as we move forward with new projects, that we are fully aware of the utilization of safe utilization for all users. Now, that being said, the current infrastructure in place, that is a heck of a challenge. When you have X number of feet, and when we go to the neighborhood associations or neighborhood and say, we are going to expand the bicycle lanes, but you're going to lose your parking. Oh my gosh. Or if we go into neighborhoods in some of our more mature neighborhoods throughout Ada County and say, yes, some of your neighbors would like to have sidewalks in here, but what that means is that you're losing your driveway, all your trees, your plant. Then that is something that the commission gets to wrestle with basically on a daily basis. So what I'm trying to convey to you and the mayor and the rest of the council members out there is that we look at all options. We have huge public outreaches. We do talk to the city staffs consistently on what the thoughts are, and at the end of the day, we make a recommendation, we go from there. But I think that you'll find that as we currently and as we continue to move forward, both pedestrian, bicycle opportunities, safe operations are what's key for the district, and we are expending more dollars in that area. Now, the other side of that is, I'm sure that when the legislature convenes, we're hoping that all the cities will be on board on supporting a couple things like standardized widths for bike lanes and pedestrians, expanding our opportunity to use impact fees to pay for those sort of things so we don't overburden all of the other taxpayers in different areas. So we're trying, we're working on it. Again, I'm optimistic on this, and we'll see how it goes.
All right.
Thank you, Director Wong. All right, any final questions or comments? I'm sorry?
Madam President?
Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, and this might help Councilmember Baum. But we initiated a process with our budget last year to give us the kind of objective tools that we can actually measure whether any facility is going to be safe and useful for walking, biking, as well as driving. We have enormous amounts of measurement tools for whether this is going to work for drivers, but we don't for other modes. And in order to be fiscally responsible in using the existing right-of-way for all modes, we really needed those tools. So we're in the process of developing that under Justin's leadership, and in that department, they are in the process of developing those tools so that we wouldn't then move forward on building something just anecdotally. It would actually say, this actually is going to be safe for walking, this is going to be safe for biking, and then it'll be used. It's no use building something that isn't used, and I think your point is very well taken. People get frustrated if a segment is built and then people don't feel safe enough to use it. But we needed the tools to measure it, figure out whether those are actually going to be used before moving forward on spending the money. So we're encouraged by that process. It's a little bit of art and a little bit of science, but other states are using it all over the country, and I encourage you to get involved, both with our advisory committees and then also through the City Council in helping to develop those tools, because I'm sure they would be useful for you as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. All right, any final thoughts, questions? We appreciate the City of Eagle taking time to join us today. A lot of good discussion, and we look forward to future meetings. So with that, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we stand adjourned. Mayor Pierce, thank you very much.
Thank you, President May. Appreciate it.
All right. Happy holidays, everybody.
And you.